Some stories I have are ones that I don't know how much I can talk about them, just because people who have said things about specific game companies have been sued. So there are very few things that I can say. I think, for interest of my own interest, I think I might not say anything too controversial. However, there have definitely been some very interesting events that have taken place inside a GameStop that I've worked at. Honestly, now when I really think about it, there are more stories that happened outside of GameStop, like other jobs I've worked at. I'll be honest. There aren't really a lot of GameStop stories. Like I had the chicken that came in, like I talked about that before. One big thing when it comes to GameStop, or sorry, specific gaming companies where you can buy, sell, and trade games. There are rules and regulations. And sometimes the rules and regulations, you have to go by the book instead of doing the right thing, which sounds very bad, but you can get fired if you don't do the right thing. So, or the wrong thing, which is sometimes the right thing. So, in a lot of situations, if you've ever been to GameStop, there are rules. Like if you try and trade in a new game, you can't do that. Like if a person brings in a sealed copy of a game, you can't do that. Or at least in my GameStop, and I'm like 99% sure it's all of them. And the reasoning behind that is stuff like somebody could go next door and buy or go steal a game from, say, like Walmart or Target, and then just go straight to GameStop after and trade it in. So sometimes those people, there's a lot of people who try and steal and, you know, bring stuff into GameStop or any, I mean, that's kind of how pawn shops work in general, because it is a pawn shop at the end of the day. One thing that happened, this guy was, he made it his duty to just like, this was his income, was bringing things into GameStop. Like this guy, he was a regular. He was a little like, kind of like out there. You ever met those people? You just know, you know a person who's just kind of out there. Like not like he says something crazy every once in a while. It's like, no, he's just kind of like, he's lost it and something should be done kind of thing. I forget what his name was. We'll call him James, I guess. James. So James would come in. This dude's bald, crazy tattoos. This man has served, not in the military, but in a federal penitentiary. He would come in, and he would just he would bring stuff in, and he would buy like PS4 games. But then we started noticing every day he'd be bringing in like some really random things. Like I've never seen him buy an Xbox 360 game at all, or an Xbox 360. He's bringing in like chat pads, headsets, a whole bunch of random stuff. We're like, it's kind of weird, don't you think? A little strange. He's bringing that stuff in. I don't really know why he would. I don't know. Maybe he just had one laying around. He's just trading the stuff in day to day. It started to escalate. There were more things he was bringing in. It was just like, in mass, he was bringing headsets, controllers from a whole bunch of different systems, like PlayStation 3 and all this stuff. Come to find out, check the security cameras. What he would do is he would go into the store, our store, and he would just take them off the shelves. He would unwrap them. He would open up like the pre-owned ones. He would unwrap them and just take it and then bring it into trade. He'd walk out the door, come back an hour later. And the reason why we caught on, because initially what he would do is he would just take it. He would just take it and then trade it in, right? But no, he was like, all right, this is getting too easy. This is getting way too easy. So what he did is he would just leave the wrapper. Like, you know the little baggies that all used locations items come in? He would just unwrap it, take it out, and just drop it on the floor. He would just leave. Come back a day later. We're like, yeah, that's like really illegal, dude. You can't do that. So you're kind of like, you're like banned. You really can't do that. Crazy to think, I know. You know, wild to think that stealing is illegal, but he did the darn thing. James didn't come back for a long time. And I was at home And like I said, he was a little off. He was a little, like something about him. He had the crazy eyes. You know what I mean? And so I was at home watching TV with my parents. News came on. There's a little news bulletin. Man has been arrested. Want to take a guess who got arrested? It's your boy James. Mugshots on the TV. And I'm laughing. I'm laughing. I was like, haha, that's hilarious. He finally got what he deserved. This man did not get arrested for stealing. This man, he was in the dead of the night, running around, chasing people, trying to hit them with a Louisville Slugger. Just random people walking around in the middle of the night, just chasing after people with a baseball bat. Which is, a little horrifying considering, I would see him every single day. And I'm really glad I was nice to him because this story would not be told. So long story short, I think he was a little upset that he couldn't trade in his chat pads and his controllers. I might be going out on a limb, but I think he took his rage out on the world because he got banned from our store. Just going out on a limb. Could be crazy. It might have been a sign. And that's when I quit. I said, you know what? I don't think this is worth it. And the crazy thing, a little bit of a reach, but the place where this guy was doing this was a street away from where my previous home was. And we just recently moved into my house at that point in time. I don't know what that means. But I was like, okay, all right. It was down the street from my old house. It's like, okay. There really weren't that many things that happened. It was more just like the typical customer situation. Just typical like trade-ins and stuff like that. People would trade in stuff and they'd be upset at me for the prices of the trade-in values when I have zero control over that. There's one person who yelled at me. He's like, you're just typing in the numbers. You're just typing in your own values and pocketing the money. I was like, sir, I'm 16. I don't know what you think this is, but I don't care. I get paid $8.25 to look at you. I don't. This is not. You are very mistaken. My first job that I ever had, chat. I worked in a restaurant, a local restaurant. It was like a really small mom and pop place. And I got this place right when I turned 16. I was insanely nervous. Actually, to give a little backstory before, the first job I ever applied to, I went to go work at this place. It was another restaurant. And they were, I didn't know what the application process was because it was a local eatery. I was like, I don't know if I should like go in or if there's like an online application. So I had my mom drive me there because I was 16 and didn't have my license yet. And I went in and this was around the time where my confidence level talking to anybody was this. If this was like this is like the neutral zone for confidence. It was below the floor that I'm standing on right now. It was, I could not talk to a person. If I looked somebody in the eyes, it was like my breath was shaking. I'm like, I would, that's how I would talk to people that I didn't know, obviously. I went to this restaurant and it's like more of a late time place, not during the day they're open. It's more of a fancy restaurant. And one of the people that my mom knew, she's like, well, my son works there and he makes like, I don't know, $12 an hour plus he gets tips. He gets like $100 in tips every night. And I was like, okay, that's sick. 16 years old and you're making that much money? Insane. So I went in and there was nobody there because they weren't open yet, realistically, for like, the bar was open, but nothing else was. And there were a whole bunch of people who were sitting at the bar and they were dressed in their attire. And me being the nervous person I was, I used my smooth brain and I walked in and they all stared at me. I just looked at them. I was nervous out of my mind. And I literally looked at all of them and I was like, do you guys work here? Like, what kind of question is that? The only people all dressed in their own attire for their job. Do you guys work here? Really? So, obviously they looked at me and they're like, They all looked at each other. There was like 4 people at the bar. This guy like behind the bar. There's like 4 people sitting down on the booths. They all look at each other like, yeah. I'm like, oh, cool. So, I was wondering, crazy thought. Do you guys have like an application? Maybe I could like, like a thing I could just if I want to work money. By that point in time, they're all like gone. They're like, this kid is a lost cause. And so what happened, there's a guy behind the counter. He looks at me. He's like, listen, we can do that. Definitely. I'm the main cook. I'm the head chef at this restaurant. Like, okay. He says, you know what? How about you take my position? I look at him like, what? But that was what was going on in my head. I did, of all the things to expect, they could have said no. I was well prepared. I'm a nervous person. I was like, yeah, if they said no, that's fine. But he's like, no, you can take my job. He's like, what I want you to do, go outside, go around the back. There should be a little hut, and that's where the manager is. You go talk to the manager, tell him you want my position, and we'll hire you. And I had no reaction. I had no idea how to process that. So I looked at him, and I was like, yeah, cool. All right, sounds good. I went outside, beelined it from my car, got in the passenger. My mom's like, well, that was quick. Did you fill out your application? I was like, head down in the seat. I'm like, it's stupid, Mom. It's stupid. Just like, just drive. She's like, what are you talking about? I'm like, just drive. It's not even worth it. Just drive, please. And that was my first time attempting an application. The second time, I applied for another restaurant because I was on a hot streak. So what could possibly go wrong, right? I applied, courtesy of one of my mom's friends, also on a hot streak, by the way. She's just nailing it with the recommendations. She's like, listen, you're 16 now, you gotta get a job. I'm like, I want one. I want a car, all that stuff. So, went to this place. It was a really small mom and pop restaurant. Like, you would go there and there'd be maybe 4 people a day. Like, really, really small. And so, I walked in, and then they greeted me and everything. They were super excited to see me. Super excited to see me. And I filled an application, got the job on the spot. Red flag number 1. This place was, I don't really understand how it functioned on a day-to-day. It's like, imagine a brick wall, but all the bricks have been smashed 6 times with a sledgehammer, and then behind the brick wall is one small coat of paint and duct tape ran across all of it. So on the front, looks amazing, looks great. If you look at it wrong, sneeze, or breathe in too heavily, this whole tower comes down. There were no rules, no regulation for this place. 0. You could do whatever you wanted, whenever you want. For example, one of our associates, there was a mom who ran the place. An older mom, obviously. Her kids worked there on occasion. If you guys have worked in a kitchen, you know that there's a thing called a walk-in. The walk-in, crazy thought, you walk in it, and it has all the food. It's like a big refrigerator that you can go inside. Every single time, because the stuff would come in weekly, all of the items that you need for the week. They're like some that come per day, like fish and meat or whatever. Generally, the other stuff comes in once a week. And there was a point where they would be making desserts, and they would be using the whipped cream cans, and they wouldn't work. Nothing would happen. Like, they would have all this weight to them, like they're full. We tip them up, spray it, and it just wouldn't work. And it was like, that's kind of weird. Come to find out, one of the sons, keep in mind, these kids are old. They're not like kids. It's just, I'm saying that just for clarification. It's a family restaurant. The kids were taking it, and the son would just go into there, and he would go into the bathroom, which was like right next to the walk-in. He would take the cans, you'd go in, and he would huff all of the whipped cream out of it, and then just put it back. He didn't throw it out. So whenever the time came around, they're like, that's weird. Why did he stop working? He's like, oh, I don't know. I mean, that's weird. I mean, hey, I don't know. Meanwhile, I'm washing dishes, I hear in the bathroom, oh, yep. You hear the empty shakes. King, 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 king. Walks out, puts it back in the walk-in. Nobody saw, obviously. And for clarification, there were no cameras. And it's one of those situations where if I saw that, who am I? Who am I to say anything? You know what I mean? Like, what am I gonna do? Am I gonna really tell my boss, yeah, your son's doing this. Your 37-year-old son is huffing the whipped cream, and that's why you can't make your apple pies the way you want them to. She's gonna be like, right. Because I'm the only 16-year-old who's gonna be there every day. Like, Dennis is there too, but we just exchange shifts every day. That became a routine thing, where they would just do this, and I would just have to see things go down. I'd be like, yeah, I mean, I can't, what do I do? What am I supposed to do? I don't have any control over this entire situation. And me, I'm like a straight edge kid, so I'm like, I'm not gonna do anything crazy. But I know if I did something extra that I really shouldn't have done, I would get fired on the spot. And the cast for my work, for clarification, it was almost like a sitcom. Like imagine a sitcom, but like the side series sitcoms that they do. In addition to that, so like, for example, Family Guy. Family Guy, popular TV show, Cleveland show. 2 seasons. Didn't work out the way they thought it would. That was the kitchen I worked in. It was just the Cleveland show as real people. Let me just list off all the people. So we had the mother, super Italian woman, and she just is just having the time of her life. She is in her mid-60s, trashed every day, just vibing, absolutely vibing. And then there's her kids, who they're very nice, very, very nice, but they're just, on some other thing. They're just doing their own thing. And then we had the cook, who was the coolest guy out of the group, super nice. We're gonna call him Rick. Rick was the cook, super cool guy. He's in his 30s. He is very intimidating looking, but he's like super nice if you actually know him. Ex-Marine, face tats. Okay, not face tats, neck tats, sleeves. Dude's ripped. Like he's like, he would absolutely kill you. Like on first glance, he looks like if you wronged him, it would be the worst mistake you'd ever made in your life. He was very, very nice. Always loved to chat. And you kind of have to have that connection, because I was the only person who was cleaning in the kitchen for the day. And then it's him cooking. So like we have to work together, obviously. So you have to be close, or have some connection with each other. What happened? The first time that we ever went there, he was very interesting. So when you first walk in, you walk straight into the kitchen. Like if you're walking through the back, which that's where you enter to do the work, you walk straight to the dish tub, where I would be working most of the time. And then there's the cook line, right? That's where all the cooking is done. All the meals are prepped and made. And there was a refrigerator. There's a refrigerator there. And this refrigerator was covered entirely in, I would like to note, very tasteful 80s women from magazines. If you're picking up what I'm putting down. There were arguably also women that he was friends with on there. Which was, so every time that I went to go and bring like the little dish trays or like put dishes back, I'm just making eye contact. I'm like, good, bringing stuff over, I'm just walking over. Back to scrub my dishes. This guy, he would have a collection. And I'm not talking, it's not like 3 pictures. It's like, Dennis can attest. It's the whole fridge. Imagine a whole fridge. It was very, very interesting. It's one of those things you're like, yeah, that's kind of weird. Doesn't the manager like think that that's kind of strange? No. She's like, yeah, that's hilarious. Yeah, true. Yeah, they were like taped on. Some people don't like anything on their fridge. Some people like to show off the stainless steel. Some people like to show off their kids. The cook, tasteful nudes. Only. There are no picture, no family photos on there. Understandably, because that would be very weird. But those are the things that would be there. And one notable situation, the most notable situation I can remember from my time there, because, oh boy, so many different things happened. But one very notable moment that we have, because if you've worked in a restaurant, you know that a routine issue is drunk people. If you have a bar, you're going to have drunk people. Like that's just how it works. Kind of the point of going to a bar, right? But there was one time, because it's a small location, everybody knows everybody, and in turn, these people are dating or are married or something of that sort. When there are relationships, there are usually fights or feuds that happen. And one time, I think I was working there for probably a month or two. Because I'm so close to the parking lot from where I was doing the dishes in the tub, you would hear a lot of what's going on. And so there's one night, probably around like 8:30. You just hear this couple arguing, like going at it, screaming at each other. Like, you don't love me like you used to. How dare you look at her the way that you looked at her? I can't imagine being with you. Back and forth. Typical argument stuff, right? Then, just out of the blue, this guy who was arguing, he just walks in. He just comes in, which is, I forgot to mention, a very routine thing. They were so welcoming, it's a mom and pop place, and there's no regulation. They could just come right in. So this guy walked right into the kitchen as he's yelling at her. And the girl freaks out at him. She's like, you can't go in there. She's like arguing. I'm just washing dishes. This is happening, by the way, probably 3 feet away from me. So I'm just watching, my head's just straight down, just like, just this reckless behavior happening right next to me. And she's like bashing. There's a screen door and then there's a glass door. And what she does, she takes her shoe and just chucks it. I can only assume it was her shoe. It was maybe a rock, who knows? And she just smashes this entire window, or the frame to the door, at least. She destroyed it. I'm just like, all right. And by the way, it's around the point in time where food's cut off, so I'm the only one there in the kitchen. Granted, I'm not too far away from the bar, pretty small kitchen. But the issue was like, that's a little bit of a scenario. Like, this guy's screaming at this girl. The girl is screaming at him through the door that she now broke. And I'm just sitting here scrubbing dishes. Like, what do I do? So they leave. Now that they've caused damage, they leave and don't say anything. Because they're like, whoa, that's crazy. All right, let's go home. So they left. So I'm just here looking at a pile of broken glass. And if you've seen like full glass doors, like that's a lot of cleaning up. And it's shattered everywhere. So I call my boss, who forgot to mention this as well. The cook lives at the restaurant. Because the restaurant was in a house. Does this make sense? Because I feel like it doesn't. Anyways, so I call him. I'm like, you might want to come downstairs. So Rick comes down and he's like, what happened? What did you do? I'm like, I did not do anything, first off. But for your information, there was a little bit of a fight. And I watched it happen. Well, are you going to clean it up? I'm like, you don't want to like call the cops or anything? Like that seems like a little bit of a strange thing. Just like let that slide. Like they destroyed an entire window frame to like the door. You don't think that's an issue? He's like, no, why would it be a problem? He's looking at me like I'm crazy. Like this is so out of the realm of normal to me. But he's like, yeah, I mean, that sucks, yeah. Whatever. And so my boss comes back. She's like, where's the screen? Where's the glass to the door? I'm like, well, funny story. Tell her. She had the same thing. She's like, yeah, all right. Which also, by the way, very off-brand, considering they were not making a lot of money. It was like getting by money from this place because there was like 8 people who would show up. So like that's a lot of money. To replace a window like that or a frame is a lot of money. I don't know exactly how much, but I assume a couple hundred minimum to replace that. She's like, yeah, I mean, I guess it's just kitchen's gonna be a little cold. I'll just turn up the heat, you know? Which I was like, okay, I mean, whatever. Long story short, it got fixed later on, but they were just vibing, just chilling out, just taking it all in. Very interesting. The last story I'll note about, because we're almost done. Same situation. Crazy, right? Sitting there washing dishes, and this one actually happened probably a week into working there. So I'm still under this, like, I'm super nervous. I don't know how to approach people or talk to people. Kind of grew out of that while I worked there, which makes sense because you had to be an adult to handle the lack of not being an adult. Does that make sense? So, initially, I was really scared. And there was a moment where we had a lady she was like yelling in the parking lot. I don't know what's going on. So we go and we hear her yelling outside, and she was like banging on the door, that same door, pre-destructed door. And then she was like yelling, and then my Rick goes out and he's like, get out of here. Stop being annoying. Like, we're trying to work. We're trying to do our thing. So she shuts up for a little bit. You can hear her yelling still in the parking lot because she's drunk. And then my boss goes out to go for a smoke break. And he's like, John, do you know what this is? And keep in mind, this is like 2 seconds after. Like, he was gonna go out and just like talk to her and tell her to, go away, as well as take his smoke break. And I go into the door, and there's a purse. Like, okay, that's kind of weird. Is it her purse? Come to find out, it is. But in the 2 seconds it took him to go outside, this girl is gone. Completely gone. Not in the sense of being drunk, because she already was, but gone as in she's disappeared. Nobody knows where she is. My boss is like, all right, well, we're gonna have to take a second to find her. I'm like, I just came here to wash dishes, man. I don't know what am I supposed to do? And so we're looking around, because it's New Hampshire. There's a ton of pickup trucks everywhere. So we're climbing in all of these people's pickup trucks, looking for this woman to see if maybe she was just like hiding or something. Like, she just really wanted to play hide and seek at 10 p.m. Didn't find her. And her purse was just there, just chilling. And so we're like, well, we looked around for like 15, 20 minutes. Nothing came up. Talked to all the people at the bar, looked around the actual place, looked in the bathrooms. She's gone. Like, all right, well, we met Houdini. Very cool. We always like a celebrity in a restaurant. And then, never found her. But for clarification, so I would work in the evening, because they don't need a dishwasher during the morning, during the day. Because the dishes will only fill up by the time that I get there. Because I would get there like 4 or something. No, 6 p.m. around there. And I would work for like 3 hours a day. But on Saturdays, it's cleanup day. Gotta go in on Saturday, vacuum, all that stuff. And we would be there right in the morning, 11 a.m.-ish, 10:30. And this event happened on a Friday night. So we come back Saturday morning, I'm all ready to go, and her purse is gone. So I'm like, oh, that's good to know. Come to find out, she booked it. Like Usain Bolt booked it down this back road. And she put in so much energy that she just knocked out. She knocked herself out. Cold. And this guy was driving, he was going to the restaurant, and he was like, huh, it's kind of weird that she's just like knocked out. Kind of strange, right? So the guy pulls over and he's like, he gets her, puts her in the car, and brought her home because it was just a lot of work, a lot of effort. When she got her purse back.